Welcome to the Mom Owned and Operated Podcast, the podcast about moms and for moms, where we have candid conversations about running a business, raising a family, and remembering ourselves. I'm your host, Rita Suzanne, a single mom of four, digital strategist, and provider of no-nonsense business strategies and tactics. Hi, this is Rita Suzanne, and today I have my guest, Audra King, with me, and I'm so excited to chat with you today, Audra. Please tell everyone a little bit about you, your family, and your business.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to be here. My name is Audra King, like you mentioned. I run a business consultancy and agency called She Loves Her Biz. I'm mom to a very active 8-year-old, and I live in the Midwest. We have 2 guinea pigs. They are also part of our family, and just really enjoying the entrepreneur life. My agency side focuses on website and branding, but I've shifted over the past year, and who hasn't shifted, thank you, COVID, over the past year, to offering more strategy and one-on-one coaching, and really leaning into the mantra of my business, which is follow the fun.
Yes, I love that so much. So tell us a little bit more about that leaning into the fun. How do you do that? How does one do that?
Yeah. So, I think we hear so many times that you have to do this, you should do this to be successful. This is the path. And what I've realized over the years of being in online business is that there's no one path. And also you can have a beautiful vision and plan, and then something changes, and we're always making micro adjustments or sometimes just completely pivoting our businesses. And so about a year and a half ago, when I was kind of wrapped up in some of these things that I was doing and realized that I didn't even enjoy how I was running my business or what I was doing in my business like I thought I would, I realized if I can do this business anyway, I need to do it in the way that feels the most fun and feels the most aligned. And so that's when I really started to structure my time and my schedule and my offers around what feels fun and what feels, I like to use the word easeful as opposed to easy, because there are things that I do in my business that no one would consider easy, but because they are aligned with how I want to be spending my time or where I want my energy to be going, they still feel really good to be doing. And so follow the fun kind of became an experiment for me. I've always been pretty careful with my schedule because I came from a crazy workload. I was a teacher for 7 years and I was working 60 to 70 hours a week. And a big thing that drove me out of teaching was how much time and energy it was taking from me and my family. So I didn't want to recreate that, but I also had to be really mindful when I decided to lean into following the fun on only doing those things that felt aligned during those hours that I have. So I usually aim to work 20 to 25 hours a week. I block off my days. So Wednesdays, I don't do any client work because I do life on Wednesdays, and Fridays are flex days where I decide where I need to put my time and energy, if it's into my family, if it's into my business. And then Monday, Tuesday, Thursday are really the days where I lean into getting business things done. And I found that as I've shifted more and more towards what feels fun and aligned, I've found more and more success. I'm a nicer person. I'm a happier person. And so I've really started to promote this idea within the work that I do with my clients and what I put out into the world. Because it's been really transformational for me in my life.
Yeah, I think it's super important because, as I've mentioned before, a lot of times when we start our businesses, it's like we will roll out of bed and just work, 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 work. And then we're just burning out. And, I talk to a lot of people about burnout, about business burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important for us, especially as moms who are trying to, raise our families and run our businesses. I mean, we still have to remember ourselves, right? We put ourselves last all the time. And because we're not really being mindful. And I like to say that I went from having one boss to having like 15 bosses because that's how I designed my business to be initially. Yeah. So do you have any like tips or, strategies that someone can use in order to make sure that they are not, or that they are creating an easeful business for themselves?
Yeah. So one of the things I have a framework that I've created around follow the fun, but I think one of the key steps, if you're just starting to shift into this type of mindset, one, I'll just say is defining what does fun mean to you? Like, what is a good schedule feel like? What kind of clients do you want to work with? But really productizing your services. I see so many entrepreneurs who are offering way too many offers. And they do it because they're hungry for sales, they're hungry for clients. And I get it. I've totally been there myself. But when I started shifting my own business model, one of the key things was creating a productized suite. And when I say productized, I've got basically 4 criteria that a successfully productized service meets. It has a clear transformation. This is the most important piece because it makes it really easy to sell that service. You have a proven process and a framework. So you've provided this service enough times where you really know what you're talking about and you can walk people through the process before they invest with you. You get a consistent result for people. And I'm not saying you have to completely change somebody's life every time that you work with them, but you can really showcase results that you've gotten for people. And it has a predictable time frame for delivery. And what these 4 things do, aside from making your product much easier to sell, they also make it way easier for you to manage the back end of your business because you're doing the same thing over and over again. You can refine your process, you can improve your process, which is going to get better results for your clients. And you can take a look at your schedule and understand how many of whatever can I reasonably deliver at the quality level that I want to be at, because I know we all want to deliver really great results for our clients without overbooking ourselves. I think sometimes we have a hard time really understanding what it takes to deliver our services until we're in the middle. And we know what overwhelm feels like, and we know what too much feels like, but we don't always know how to pace ourselves in what we're offering.
Yeah. And I think that leads to undercharging, basically, because you think that you can do it in X amount of time, especially when you have the multiple services. As we talked about before, I've put myself into positions where I've had multiple offers, running simultaneously. But then I recently read, and when I mean read, I listened to a audiobook that really opened my eyes. And, for years, I've always told my clients that they need to niche down and they need to do this but it's really hard. And I understand why people don't do it. But I listened to this book, and it's called $1 Million Offers, and it's on Audible, and it's by Alec. I can't remember his last name, but it's so good. It helped me to really understand the reason for niching down. And it's similar to what you just said. It really helps you to focus in on that one thing, and you're doing that one thing really well. And his example that has stuck with me was, for instance, let's say that you have a course that you want to offer, and you're going to charge $100 for this course, and it's just to nurses, right? And let's say then you have the same course, the content is pretty much the same, but now you're going to take that content and you're going to market it to pediatric nurses, right? And now you're going to charge $1,000 because it's so specific and so niche down that, and then if any other nurses come to you, you don't work with them, right? Because your focus is on the pediatrics, versus being able to serve everyone. But let's swing back around into the undercharging, because I think that is so important and a topic that we need to talk about, because we think that we're charging enough until we get into the project.
Yeah. And I think that is where having a productized service helps you avoid scope creep, which can eat into those profit margins. But I think many of us, especially if we're just starting out in business, are undercharging across the board. And I think that comes from, a lot of reasons, but I think confidence and feelings of worthiness really play into that tendency, especially for women. And I would say, especially for heart-centered caregivers, like what I imagine your audience is, where you want to help people and you want to make a difference. And sometimes we forget to include what we need in that equation. And I think what has helped me become more confident in charging for my time at a rate that is, rewards me for the time and energy I'm putting out there is just, one, realizing there's a lot more money out in the world than I thought. I grew up in a small Midwestern town. My family didn't have a lot of money, and it took some rewiring in my brain, some rewiring of scarcity mindset, and some just opening up my understanding of what people will pay for and how much money there is out in the world, as part of my journey towards charging more. But then I think also, as I valued my time more and my energy more and my expertise more, it became easier to communicate that value to my clients. And if you feel confident in the value that you're able to deliver and provide to people, when you get on that sales call or discovery call with them, they're going to pick up on that confidence, and it's going to make them feel like it's a safe investment. If you're not sure about yourself or your processes or what you're charging, your prospective clients are probably going to pick up on that, and they just want to feel safe, because a lot of times, what they're investing is a big decision for them. And so the easier we can make it for people to feel confident that we're going to deliver what we're promising, the more likely they're going to be willing to pay those prices. And sometimes I hear people say, just double your prices. Women always undercharge. But I actually don't recommend that, because I think a lot of times the problem isn't the number of dollars. The problem is the mindset that you're going into pricing at. So that's something I work with my clients on through coaching sometimes is how do we get to a point where it feels not just okay to charge more, but you're actually excited about what you're charging because you know that you're going to deliver amazing results to your clients.
Yeah. Do you have any strategies that you give them to increase slowly? Because I know that one thing that I used to do, especially both of us, used to do day rates. And so when I was first starting with my day rates, I started at a low offer. And then once 3 people purchased, then I increased my prices. And once 3 more increased, but there's a cap, right? Like you hit a cap where you're like, okay, this market is not set up for another increase. So do you have any strategies for that?
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with the strategy you outlined, where I think it's totally fine to start at a lower price point when you're first proving an offer. It teaches you things about the process that you need to know, et cetera. But I think as soon as you start to see client results from whatever you're offering, you raise your price. And I think having a number in mind that you're working towards is really important. And I would even recommend every time you have somebody who pays at your current price point, if you're working towards a higher price point, you need to bump it up, because you've proven that someone will pay whatever, and now it's time to prove that they'll pay the next one. And as far as running into a ceiling in terms of your audience, I think there's a couple of choices you have. One is to fish in a bigger pond, right? So maybe or a different pond, right? Like when I first started working with clients, a lot of clients were coming to me with a DIY mindset. And so they wanted the least expensive option, and they always wanted to like take something out of the package to make it cheaper, et cetera. The clients that I work with now are, they value time more than money. And so they just want to know they're handing it off to someone who will get it done, who will deliver on what they promised, and they don't have to spend time and energy micromanaging. And that was a big shift for me in terms of what I could charge for my prices. And I think it also can circle back to what you were talking about before in terms of niching down and really specializing, because I know where I'm at in my business now. I used to be that DIYer who wanted to save money. And now I'm that person who just wants it done. And so if someone comes to me with the exact solution that I'm looking for, I'll invest more money because I feel like they're going to deliver exactly what I need, as opposed to someone else who's like, well, we could do this or we could do that, and maybe doesn't message their offer in such a way that I'm clearly like identifying, yes, that's what I need. And so when you are working through your offers, I think it's scary because it feels like you're saying no to potential clients. But keep in mind that you're also saying yes to that exact client who's going to benefit the most from what you get the most pleasure out of offering.
Right. And overall, that's going to help you in the long run because you're not going to be overwhelmed or burnt out
Mhm.
or unhappy. And, we definitely don't want any of that anymore.
No, hustle culture can die as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. And I think that as moms, like we should never like feed into that. I think that a lot of times when someone is like, like a Gary Vee who is all about hustle culture, that's great. He has a wife who takes care of his children, who does all the things for him to help support him. But if you don't have that same luxury, then you cannot compare yourself. And I always tell people this too, like, comparing yourself to, let's say, a huge like marketing guru like an Amy Porterfield who maybe come out with a thing that says, hey, build your email list. Well, her email list is crazy, and so the tactics that maybe she would use would not be the same as what you could use as a newer person, so I think that that's important to remember as well.
I agree. And I think, keep in mind too that all of the successful people that we see, it's just a snapshot of what they want to show people. And every time I've gotten into the back end of a business that on the outside looks like they've got it all handled and they're very polished and professional, and you're like, they must be making millions of dollars a year. You get into the back end and you realize it's just normal people like us trying to muddle through, and they might have, a larger team or more resources, but they also don't have it all figured out. And we're only seeing the polished view that they want to show the world. Nobody airs their dirty laundry to the world, right? So I find that really encouraging because it means that I don't have to have it all figured out either. And what I've started doing is just doing it dirty is what I call it, but like, which sounds dirty, but I mean like doing it messy, doing it before it's
Right.
perfect. I used to be a perfectionist, and I wouldn't put something out there until I thought that it was, polished and ready to go. And I recently launched a workshop series where every month we'll be talking about following the fun and doing a check in on the previous month, setting goals for the next month, and then focusing on a topic that helps lead to more fun in business. And instead of building out an awesome platform and all of the content and going all in, I decided just to do one test month. And it was just a simple form through my email service provider where people got tagged with registration. And I didn't charge for the first one. It's like, how can I make this as simple as possible so I can just see if the idea has merit, right? And so it was a big success, and I decided to move forward with it. So this month we're putting in a few more systems, and then next month we'll add some more things to it so that it can grow in a way that isn't overwhelming, because I don't have a whole month of 40-hour weeks to dedicate to building out something huge. And then if it didn't land the way I hoped it would, have spent all of that time and energy in a way that wasn't going to prove to be a good return on investment.
Yeah. And I think that that's important for people to learn. I think so. Let's talk a little bit about that perfectionism thing.
Mm-hmm.
I once read, I believe it was something about perfectionism just being a disguise for fear, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Because I know that especially a lot of people, introverts especially, they,
Mm-hmm.
like you and I, are
Right.
afraid to put ourselves out there with our new thing. It may be the best idea ever, but let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you're totally right. I think it comes down to fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough, fear of, for those of us who really care about what we're delivering, fear of not delivering on the promise that we've made to people. And I think, what's shifted for me has been some internal work. Like I work with a coach who has helped release some of that and help me understand maybe where some of those feelings are coming from. But also just the more time I've been in business, the more I've realized that the people who I admire aren't the people who have the most beautiful graphics or even businesses that on the outside people are going to say, oh, they run a perfect business. It's the people who've taken action, and those are going to be the most successful people too. I am in a group with a lot of business owners who are much further ahead than I am. They've got million or multi-million dollar businesses, and when I see who is making money in their business and having the impact that they want to have, it's not the people, I forget the term, but it's basically like perfectionism as a way of procrastinating. Like, mm-hmm. I can't say the word at all. I'll stumble over it, but, perfectionism keeps us from taking action. And by not taking action, we're not getting data. We're not getting results for people. And so I think at a certain point, you just have to let it go and say, I'll do what I can and be okay with that. And I will say working with somebody who could help me kind of work through that was really helpful for me as well. It's not something that if you haven't gotten to that point, I want anyone to feel bad about, because I needed support to kind of let go of some of those feelings.
Yeah, because I think that having a business, there is a lot of mindset work that needs to be done. Mm-hmm. And I know that that's something that you've mentioned a couple of times. And I know when I first started, one of my first friends / coaches, she told me, she said, you need help with your mindset. And I'm like, I didn't even know what that was.
Right.
And so I think that once we get into our businesses, we start to realize that there are these shifts that we have to make. And that's what I love about your workshop and all of the things that you're doing, because you're helping people to really see that even the tiny little shifts that they can make that will help them improve their business. Right. And these little things, although we might, we kind of probably glaze over them over and over because we've, moved past it, but it's so imperative and important for us to just, fix the money mindset, fix the scarcity, fix the, the fear. I think the fear is the biggest thing. Fear of judgment, fear of, rejection, all of that is the worst problem. So I love that your workshop is tackling all those things. What is like the next one? What are you talking about? What is the subject matter?
Yeah, so the next one, we're talking about offers. I'm calling it Offers Made Easy, and I'm really diving into a little bit of what we touched on today, as far as like, how do you create an offer that really serves you and what you want out of your life and business, as opposed to trying to think, what will someone buy? I think a lot of us start from the perspective, what can I sell that someone will buy? And I want to shift that to, what can I offer that serves me the best, right? So that's happening and in May. And then in June, we're doing an interview. I'll announce it here because I know this podcast will come out in a few weeks, with Liz Wilcox, who is an email marketing guru. And she's got a great story about how following the fun helped her. I think she made $30,000 in an offer through following the fun. She was in a mastermind I ran last year. So she'll be coming in June. And I have a link if you want to check out the workshop. We have past months. So even if you weren't able to catch the offer workshop, if you're interested in catching the replay, you can find that at shelovesherbiz.com/FTF workshop. FTF stands for Follow the Fun, and get more information and sign up if you want for the next workshop.
I love that. I love that. So one of my favorite things that I love to ask my guests, because my whole purpose around starting this podcast was really to see how other moms are running their businesses and raising their families. But the biggest thing is like, what are you doing for yourself? So I want to know, how are you remembering yourself, Audra? Like, what are you doing just for you so that you don't, get overwhelmed with all the things?
Yeah, I love that question. So one of the things that I love about how I've created my schedule is Wednesdays, I try to do nothing for the business. It's my day to do self-care, to do just the things in life that you need to have time to do, like appointments, etc. And I have a massage scheduled twice a month on a regular basis. And I've really leaned in this year to taking care of my physical self, because I know that helps me in all areas of my life. So I get twice a month massage. I go to the chiropractor regularly. And I'm prioritizing getting out on walks. I used to think you had to run and do all of the heavy lifting stuff to feel healthy. And what I'm finding is, for me, a walk a day is really grounding, and it helps me take care of my mental health as well as my physical health.
Yeah. And it helps that the weather is starting to improve, right?
Yes. Rita and I don't live too far from each other, so we experience the same weather, and the sun shining and the birds singing is definitely helping my mood these days.
Exactly. I mean, I loved when I was in California and I got to hike every day. That was my favorite thing to do. And so being back in Ohio, it was just, it's been hard to stay inside all these months and stuff. And the weather is just what I like to call I don't know. It's a mess here, but this is where we are. So, so besides going and finding the workshops and checking out any of the replays, where can people find you online? Where are you hanging out?
Yeah, so my website is shelovesherbiz.com. You can check out ways to work with me there if you're interested. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at shelovesherbiz, and I've recently started diving into LinkedIn, and so you can find me on LinkedIn under Audra King.
Yeah, and so which one's your favorite? What do you think? I feel like Instagram would be your favorite.
Instagram is the easiest for me to be active on. LinkedIn, I actually really enjoy LinkedIn for personal connection, and that's important to me. So I don't post a lot on LinkedIn, but I like the community there for just setting up chats to get to know people and that kind of thing. And Facebook, I have a Facebook business page, but it doesn't get the bulk of my love these days. So I would say if there's one place you want to find me, if you want to set up some kind of get to know you chat, find me on LinkedIn. And if you just want to see what I'm up to and some pictures of flowers and guinea pigs on occasion, follow me over on Instagram.
And you don't have a Facebook group or anything, do you?
No, I don't.
But because I feel like Facebook is where all the moms are, right?
And I'm still on Facebook because there's some mom groups that I'm a part of that I just couldn't let go of. So I agree with that. It's a good place to be with other moms.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure chatting with you.
Well, thank you, Rita. It was a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. And there you have it. I want to encourage you to remember that being a mom who runs her own business is not easy. We all struggle, but just keep moving forward and don't forget to make time for yourself. As moms, we are usually the first thing to go to the bottom of the list. If your business is overwhelming you and you need real solutions, not just some sugar-coated suggestions, apply to work with me at ritasuzanne.com/apply.